Number 8. Anjali Ramkissoon. Anjali Ramkissoon, a fourth-year neurology resident with Jackson Health System in Miami, was fired in April of 2016 after a video had emerged of her attacking and berating an Uber driver. A few months earlier, the 30-year-old woman had entered the ride-sharing car without a reservation, at which point the driver asked her to leave. The interaction that followed was captured on cell phone video by Juan Cinco, the man who'd ordered the Uber to take him home from the Mary Brickell Village Center. Cinco told the driver to cancel their ride, but Ramkissoon became extremely belligerent upon being asked to exit the car. The driver got out instead, but the woman climbed into the front passenger seat and started throwing his belongings from the dashboard out into the street while ordering him to get back inside. The items included cash, an iPhone, pieces of paper and receipts, as well as a pair of scissors that landed just inches away from Cinco. She also hit the driver and screamed profanities at him during her outburst. As he called the police, claiming that he'd suffered bruises during Ramkissoon's onslaught, the young woman mocked his reports by saying, "I'm a 5-foot-tall girl who weighs 100 pounds. Cinco later uploaded the clip to YouTube and wrote in the post that Ramkissoon only became tearful and apologetic when the police arrived to take her away in handcuffs. The driver reportedly accepted a cash settlement in lieu of pressing charges. Ramkissoon appeared on Good Morning America following the incident and publicly apologized for her behavior on the night. Number 7. Kimberly Pancratius. On the evening of November the 1st of 2014, a woman became furious after a couple had allegedly stolen her parking spot at a Nebraska Walmart. 36-year-old Kimberly Pancratius pulled up alongside Julie Weekly and her husband Christopher and called them douchebags. The couple ignored her remarks and kept walking towards the store. Christopher would later tell the police that as they approached the Walmart, they heard tires screeching in the distance. Pancratius sped towards them in her PT Cruiser, and as she turned the car, struck 40-year-old Judy in the arm with the driver's side mirror. The contact was hard enough for the mirror to break off and hang from the side of the cruiser. Julie was left in pain, but reportedly declined medical treatment. As Pancratius fled the lot, the couple wrote down her license plate and she was later questioned by the police. The woman confessed to the parking lot rage incident, claiming that she'd only meant to scare the couple and panicked upon realizing she'd struck Julie. Pancratius was booked at Lancaster County Jail on charges of assault and use of a deadly weapon to commit a felony. Number 6. Incident in Mullen Diner. An unnamed woman in Mullen Diner, Gold Coast, Australia, absent-mindedly walked her 2 pugs into a crime scene in 2015. In a video-recorded interaction, she became furious upon being approached by 2 officers and asked to clear the perimeter. The scene that she'd wandered into was that of 24-year-old Tara Brown's violent murder. The latter had been forced off the road by her ex-partner and former gang member, Lionel Patia, who then beat her to death. After the dog walker was stopped by the police, she started screaming at them and refused to move. She then bent down, picked up a recently collected bag of dog feces and threw it into an officer's face. Dumbfounded, the latter promptly pushed the woman to the ground, where he and a partner began restraining her. In the video, which since gained attention online, she was heard repeatedly screaming for her dogs. The woman was taken into custody, but no further information was provided on her charges. Number 5. Billy Steele. On August the 15th of 2020, British man Billy Steele was captured on cell phone footage, launching a racist tirade at a group of black passengers on London's Central Line Underground train. The 31-year-old builder worked for a company called S&S Steel Fixing Limited, owned by his wealthy parents. While swinging on the handrail, he told 3 black passengers that they were all going back, while also claiming that they were lesser than him and that they were his pets. He then reportedly started screaming out the word violence and insulted other passengers who'd intervened to the group's defense. The trio that he'd been verbally abusing was then in the process of getting off at Bank Station, and Steele stared them down as they passed him. Suddenly, one of the young men launched and landed a thunderous punch to Steele's head. He was knocked out cold and tumbled backwards to the opposite side of the car. As clips of the racist rant and knockout went viral, numerous users sided with the unnamed man who'd punched him. Steele's mother told a media outlet that he'd gone to the police, owned up to his abhorrent behavior, and didn't want the man who'd hit him to be punished. She also mentioned that he'd begun getting professional help. Number 4. Thanapat Annakessari. In late August of 2019, Thanapat Annakessari was invited to a school reunion in Ang Thong, central Thailand, after the 69-year-old former Navy officer and the rest of the group had sat down to enjoy food and drinks. Annakessari confronted Sutat Kusayamat. He accused the man of severely bullying him 53 years earlier when they were both in their teens. Annakessari became enraged when the second man claimed that he couldn't remember tormenting him. Annakessari demanded an apology, but Kusamayat refused, reportedly telling him to forget about it. In the moments that followed, the pensioner drew a handgun and shot the alleged bully before fleeing the scene. The latter was pronounced dead in a local hospital while a manhunt was launched for Annakessari. The president of the 1966 class, who'd organized the event, spoke to the media in the shooting's aftermath. He revealed that Annakessari had complained about being bullied by Kusayamat in the past, but added that he'd never imagined his anger would turn into murder. The man voiced a grim conclusion to the incident by stating that Annakessari never forgot about it. Number 3. Adnan Ahmed. Self-described pickup artist Adnan Ahmed was convicted of threatening and abusive behavior towards women in October of 2019. The man, then in his late 30s, called himself Addy A-Game and secretly filmed himself approaching women in Glasgow and Lanarkshire, Scotland. He then used the footage to offer tips on how to overcome last-minute resistance to advances. Ahmed also included audio in the clips that was reportedly recorded during intercourse. The 5 women who'd given evidence at his trial, aged in their late teens and early 20s, claimed to have felt intimidated by him. After a jury found the so-called pickup artist guilty, he was sentenced to 2 years in jail in order to register as an offender for 10 years. In spite of the victim's testimonies, his conviction was eventually quashed on appeal less than a year later. His lawyers successfully argued that Sheriff Lindsay Wood had carried out an inappropriate cross-examination of Ahmed that had made it impossible for the jury to have an impartial opinion. Today's topic was requested by the Roaming Nomad. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Lauren Elizabeth Cutshaw. In the early morning hours of August the 4th of 2018, Lauren Elizabeth Cutshaw drove through a stop sign in South Carolina at 60 miles per hour. An officer then pulled over her white Ford Fusion in the town of Bluffton. While talking to the police, Cutshaw was slurring her words and the blood alcohol test registered her at nearly twice the legal limit. The woman apologized for speeding and running the stop sign, explaining that she'd been heading to her boyfriend's home. She admitted to have had a few glasses of wine at a nearby restaurant while celebrating her 33rd birthday. Marijuana and rolling papers were found in her car, and the woman said that she may have smoked earlier in the night. Cutshaw was taken into custody for driving while intoxicated, and the ensuing interaction with the arresting officers was captured on dashcam audio. From the back of the squad car, the woman began listing the reasons why she shouldn't be arrested, which included that she was a pretty girl, implying she'd be at risk in jail. Cutshaw went on to say that she'd graduated with honors from a high-accredited university and had been an all-American cheerleader. Her most troubling statement was, according to a police report, uttered off-camera when she told an officer that she was a very clean, thoroughbred white girl. When the officer, who was also white, asked what that had to do with anything, Cutshaw told him that he should know what it meant because he was a cop. The woman, who worked as a real estate agent, added that her partner was a cop and suggested she didn't fit the type of people most commonly encountered in that line of work. She was charged with driving under the influence, speeding, disregarding a stop sign, simple possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Cutshaw, whose statements had sparked online outrage, eventually pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor DUI count.
See, I graduated from a really good university. Please, I've never been arrested. I've never been in jail. Please, I don't want to know what it's like. I don't want to know what it's like. I'm a pretty girl. Please, I'm almost a valedictorian.
Number 1. Karen Benitez Hallman. A clip of a Penn State University associate professor smoking on an American Airlines flight while ranting about the US's global military domination became viral in 2015. Shortly after the plane coming in from Nicaragua landed at Miami International Airport, Karen Benitez Hallman lit up a cigarette. Earlier in the flight, she'd repeatedly shouted out, "The United States has declared war on Venezuela," and went on a loud rant. Other passengers captured the academic on cell phone video as she spoke about the Obama administration's supposed plans to take over the South American country's enormous oil reserves as it was going through economic turmoil. The 52-year-old also maintained that the US had given cancer to her hero Hugo Chavez after flight crew informed her that she'd be taken into custody by the authorities in Florida for her disruptive behavior. Hallman replied that she was aware, but still determined to say her piece. She lit up a cigarette and tried to blame it on another passenger when confronted by flight crew before eventually being escorted off the aircraft and arrested for disorderly conduct. In the incident's aftermath, Hallman spoke to a Philadelphia media outlet and defended her actions as a protest against US imperialism. She referenced sanctions recently imposed by then-President Obama on Venezuelan officials as evidence of the nefarious agenda. When asked about the smoking, the professor described it as a symbol that the United States is a smoking gun, and identifying with the revolutionary causes, all revolutionaries such as Fidel Castro or Daniel Ortega smoked. She also claimed to have been tortured by the FBI following her arrest by being put in an extremely cold room for hours and not allowed to use the bathroom. Updates from her case indicated that she was still employed by Penn State, but not teaching in the classroom. Thanks for watching. Would you rather have your partner constantly get you into fights when going out, or date a mime? Let us know in the comments section below.